Tony Bennett was known as one of the kindest men in music. He sang with everyone, from Frank Sinatra to Lady Gaga. Always smiling, always gracious. But behind that charm, there was a secret, one he kept hidden for over 50 years. A grudge so deep, even his closest friends didn't know. And near the end of his life in 2021, he finally revealed the truth. This wasn't just rivalry, it was personal. Anthony Dominic Benedetto was born on August 3, 1926, in Long Island City, Queens, the first in his family born in a hospital. His Italian immigrant parents came to America chasing opportunity, but found only hardship. Their apartment in Astoria was cold, crowded, and the struggle for food was constant. His father, a grocery clerk with a failing heart, passed away when Tony was just 10. That loss gave Tony a sense of compassion and a fierce determination to survive. That same year, something extraordinary happened. Tony was chosen to sing at the opening of the Triborough Bridge, performing before a crowd that included Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. It was a moment he never forgot. At 13, he became a singing waiter to help support his family. Every note he sang helped put food on the table. Artistic talent ran deep. He was accepted into the School of Industrial Art in Manhattan. But by 16, he dropped out to work. He took whatever jobs he could find: elevator operator, copy boy, grocery clerk. But he never gave up on music. At 18, he was drafted into World War II and served in France and Germany. The war changed him. He saw death up close and came home with a deep respect for life and peace. After the war, the GI Bill allowed him to study music seriously. A vocal coach once told him, "Don't imitate singers. Learn from the great jazz musicians." That advice changed everything. In 1949, performing under the name Joe Barry, Tony was just another struggling act in Greenwich Village, until Pearl Bailey heard him sing. She was so moved. She had him open her show. That night changed his life. She introduced him to Bob Hope, who brought him to the Paramount Theater and gave him a new name, Tony Bennett. With Hope's support, Bennett rocketed to fame. He signed with Columbia Records and scored his first hit in 1951 with Because of You. Then came Cold, Cold Heart, a crossover country cover that shocked critics and topped the charts. Rags to Riches followed, cementing his place in pop history. But Bennett wasn't content with being just a pop star. He collaborated with jazz legends Count Basie, Stan Getz, Art Blakey, transforming his sound and taking risks most pop singers wouldn't dare. He even scattered with jazz drummers in The Beat of My Heart, a radical album that impressed Sinatra himself. Then came the song that would define his career, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. He nearly didn't record it. It was too sentimental, he thought, but in 2 raspy takes, while battling laryngitis, he captured lightning in a bottle. The song became an American classic. Still, times changed. The 1960s brought rock, and Columbia pushed Bennett to adapt. In 1970, he released a psychedelic album he hated. It flopped. His marriage fell apart, and so did his career. By the late 70s, he was broke, addicted to cocaine, and nearly died from an overdose. His wife saved his life, literally pulling him from a bathtub and reviving him. Desperate, Tony called his sons. I'm lost, he told them. Danny, his eldest, took over as manager and engineered a bold comeback. He ditched Vegas and started playing colleges and small theaters, reconnecting with new audiences. In 1986, he returned to Columbia Records, this time with full creative control. In 1994, at 68, he performed on MTV Unplugged, a show dominated by grunge bands. He stunned everyone. The album won Grammy Album of the Year, proving timeless music never goes out of style. Tony's second act was filled with accolades. He won Grammy after Grammy, collaborated with everyone from Elvis Costello to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and became a cultural icon again. In 2011, at 85, he became the oldest living artist to debut at 81 on the Billboard 200 with Duets 2, featuring Lady Gaga, Amy Winehouse, and Aretha Franklin. His duet with Winehouse was her last recording before her death. In his final decade, Lady Gaga became a close friend and collaborator. Together, they released Cheek to Cheek and Love for Sale, both massive successes. Even as Alzheimer's set in, Bennett continued to perform live, his musical memory miraculously intact. In 2021, the world learned of his illness, And yet, he still sang, still moved people, still inspired. On July 21, 2023, Tony Bennett passed away peacefully in Manhattan at the age of 96, just 2 weeks shy of his 97th birthday. Though his voice had grown quiet, his music echoed louder than ever. He left behind a monumental legacy: over 70 albums, more than 50 million records sold, and 20 Grammy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award. But numbers alone couldn't capture what Tony Bennett meant to the world. From his early days singing for pasta and tips in crowded Queens restaurants to headlining Carnegie Hall, the Hollywood Bowl, and Royal Albert Hall, Tony Bennett never stopped evolving. He wasn't just a singer. He was a living bridge between generations. His voice carried the warmth of the American songbook, the soul of jazz, and the endurance of a man who refused to be counted out, even when the world moved on. What made Tony unique wasn't just his longevity. It was his unshakable devotion to the music he loved. While other artists chased trends, Bennett remained fiercely committed to melody, phrasing, and emotion. He didn't try to reinvent himself with every decade. He just kept getting better at being himself. That authenticity earned him respect across genres and generations. In an industry obsessed with youth and reinvention, Bennett was proof that grace and substance could still win over the spotlight. His popularity only increased with age. Remarkably, the majority of his Grammy Awards came after he turned 60, including Album of the Year for MTV Unplugged in 1994 and Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album multiple times in the 2000s and 2010s. With each passing year, he seemed to gather more momentum, not less. By the time he reached his 80s and 90s, he was not just a beloved crooner, he was a national treasure. In his final years, Tony Bennett's partnership with Lady Gaga became one of the most unexpected and celebrated musical friendships of the 21st century. Their chemistry on Cheek to Cheek 24 tune was more than just charming, it was genuine. Gaga, known for her theatrical pop persona, melted into pure reverence beside Bennett, and he, in turn, seemed energized by her passion. Their duets weren't mere novelties. They were studies in mutual respect, in the way old souls and young stars could blend into something timeless. Their second collaboration, Love for Sale, a 2021, a tribute to Cole Porter, was both triumphant and poignant. It made Tony Bennett the oldest person in history to release an album of new material at 95. During recording sessions, Bennett, already battling advanced Alzheimer's, often struggled to recognize people around him. But once the music began, he came alive. He knew the melodies, the lyrics, the timing. The disease that had robbed him of names and dates had left his musical instincts untouched. This resilience astounded his doctors and broke the hearts of his fans. In interviews, Lady Gaga fought back tears describing the experience of performing with him during those final years. "He gave me everything he had," she said, "every single time." The last time they performed together, at Radio City Music Hall in August 2021, was both a celebration and a farewell. The sold-out crowd knew it. Bennett's voice soared one last time, and when the curtain fell, so did the world's breath. Beyond the stage and the studio, Bennett's life was marked by humility and a deep belief in the transformative power of the arts. In 1999, he and his wife Susan Crowe founded the Frank Sinatra School of the Arts in his native Astoria, Queens, a public high school dedicated to music, dance, fine arts, and theater. It wasn't a vanity project. Tony visited regularly, held masterclasses, and offered students both encouragement and real-world advice. The school, still thriving today, has a high graduation rate and serves as a living legacy of his commitment to arts education. His passion for visual art was just as profound. He painted under his birth name, Anthony Benedetto, and his works were exhibited in galleries and museums around the world. He often described painting as the perfect companion to singing. It required the same patience, discipline, and attention to detail. His landscapes, portraits, and city scenes revealed the same gentleness and humanity that filled his music. But perhaps the greatest part of Tony Bennett's legacy was his ability to connect people across differences of age, race, class, and background. He was a unifier. In the 1960s, he marched alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., during the Selma civil rights marches, when others stayed silent. Tony spoke through both his words and actions. "I've never forgotten what I saw there," he once said. "You can't be neutral on a moving train." His music reflected that same sense of moral clarity. He sang songs that told stories, that comforted and inspired, that lifted people out of their pain and reminded them of beauty. There was nothing ironic or distant about Tony Bennett. He believed in love, in kindness, and in the power of a perfectly sung note to change someone's day, or even their life. Bennett's awards were many. Grammys, Emmys, a Kennedy Center Honor, an NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship, and even a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But what mattered more to him than accolades was being remembered for his sincerity. He didn't just perform music. He inhabited it. He once said, "If you follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life." And for nearly 8 decades, that's exactly what he did. His passing in 2023 marked the end of an era. Artists, politicians, and fans from around the globe paid tribute. Barack Obama called him an American classic. And Lady Gaga wrote, "I will miss my friend forever." Frank Sinatra's daughter Nancy posted, "Dad always said Tony was the best, and he was right." Even younger artists, many of whom grew up long after Bennett's prime, expressed how his music had touched their lives. What set Tony apart in a world full of stars was his steadiness, his refusal to chase fame for its own sake. In many ways, he was the opposite of everything fleeting in pop culture. He aged with grace, with dignity, and with a sense of purpose. His voice may have softened in later years, but it never lost its emotional power. He sang right up until the end, sometimes privately, sometimes on stage, sometimes only to himself, but always he sang. And so, while the man known as Tony Bennett is no longer with us, his presence remains. In the crackle of a vinyl record, in a smoky jazz club, in the halls of a public arts school in Queens. In the voice of a young singer finding their phrasing. In that first note that makes you close your eyes and remember someone you love. Tony Bennett didn't just leave behind a catalog, he left behind a feeling. One of warmth, humanity, and enduring elegance. His was a life of quiet greatness, built not on flash, but on integrity. He wasn't a man of spectacle, he was a man of song. And in every corner of the world where his music plays, he still is. And the secret grudge he carried all those years. In the end, he never named the person. He simply said some things are better left in the past.